The cabin lay buried in a cradle of snow and silence, nestled among ancient pine trees whose arms sagged heavy under fresh powder. Warm golden light glowed from within the wooden lodge, painting soft halos into the cold dusk. A single figure, tall, otherworldly and unmistakably not human, stood bare-skinned in the swirling frost, breathing calm clouds into the night. She wasn't supposed to be real, not to Dax Mercer, ex-Special Forces, now retired recluse living on Earth's outer colonial rim. He was used to fighting insurgents, not hallucinations. But standing there in the snow, crystalline strands of white blonde hair catching moonlight like spider silk, was a woman who could break the world apart just by existing in it. "Don't come any closer, human," she warned, voice regal and shaking slightly from the cold. "You're already a mistake." Dax didn't flinch. "You're standing in sub-zero temps in what looks like ceremonial lingerie. And you're judging my decision-making?" She narrowed her icy blue eyes. "You wouldn't understand. My exile is sacred." Dax stepped forward anyway, boots crunching over fresh snow. He kept his hands up, non-threatening but confident. "You'll die out here. Better to die under stars than be locked away beneath stone," she snapped back. But when her knees buckled and she fell face first into the snow, Dax caught her before she hit the ground. He hadn't been out here for long, maybe 6 months of real solitude since Earth's wars had pushed him to choose peace in the edge worlds. Solitary cabin, distant satellites, no one to bother him. The silence had been welcome, until now. Now he had a freezing alien goddess unconscious in his arms. He kicked the door open and hurried her inside, laying her on the cot near the fireplace. Her skin was pale with frostbite kisses, yet unnaturally smooth, like carved moonstone. Dax peeled off his gloves, tossed a blanket over her, and grabbed the emergency heater pack. As he pressed it against her hands, the glow from her skin reacted, pulsing softly, faint blue veins lighting beneath the surface. "What the hell are you?" Her lips moved, barely a whisper. "They call me Cheyenne." Cheyenne awoke with a gasp, fingers clenching around the thermal blanket. Fire crackled beside her. She sat up too fast, only to flinch in pain. Her body wasn't recovering fast enough. She cursed herself for choosing this system, this planet, this forsaken snowbound world. Then she remembered the human and the warmth. Her gaze locked onto him across the cabin, tall, scarred, clad in worn thermals and war-worn boots, but his eyes, not cruel, just tired. That made her suspicious. "Why didn't you just let me freeze?" Dax raised an eyebrow. "Because I'm not a monster, despite the rumors." She scoffed, brushing a strand of hair behind her pointed ear. "You know who I am?" "Nope. Just know you don't belong out there alone." She stared at him, calculating, until her eyes softened for the briefest moment. "I need shelter for one night. Just that." Dax tossed her another blanket. "Then you'll get it. Name's Dax, by the way." "Dax Mercer," she whispered, eyes suddenly wide. "They told me you were dead." She didn't elaborate, but the revelation burned behind her silence. As night deepened and snow hammered the windows, Cheyenne curled up beneath the heat source, watching the human like he might disappear if she blinked. Dax made coffee, real stuff, not synths, and handed her a cup. She sipped it, eyes narrowing, as the taste hit. "You brewed this with water and beans, like a savage?" He chuckled. "Welcome to Earth, princess." Cheyenne didn't correct him. She simply looked down at her trembling hands, then whispered, "I was never supposed to leave the fortress. I escaped. They're coming." "Who's they?" She didn't answer. Hours passed. Night deepened. The temperature dropped again. Cheyenne suddenly sat upright, arms clutched around herself. Dax turned from the window. "Cold?" She bared her teeth. "Shut up, human! We're freezing! Get in my bed now!" Dax blinked. Wait, what? She grabbed his wrist, surprisingly strong. Not for pleasure, for survival. Our body heat will keep us both alive. Do not flatter yourself. He hesitated for only a moment, then followed her into the cot. Their bodies lay inches apart, barely touching. Yet every second in contact seemed to ground her, slow the shivering. Dax tried not to notice the elegant lines of her neck, the luminescence of the crystal embedded in her chest. She wasn't just some alien girl, she was engineered beauty, royal blood, or something close. He whispered, "You said they're coming." "Who exactly?" She didn't look at him. "The Vathari Dominion. They sent me here to die in exile, but I broke protocol. I still carry the Ember Key. If they find me, they'll raise this planet just to make sure I'm dead." Dax's heart pounded. "What the hell is the Ember Key?" She finally met his gaze. "A weapon, a secret, a curse. And now it's yours too, because you didn't let me die." Snow howled outside the cabin like a living thing. The storm had grown worse through the night, blinding and brutal. But inside, the small space pulsed with shared body heat, low firelight, and a silence that stretched between trust and something more dangerous. Cheyenne hadn't moved from Dax's cot. Dax's. She lay on her side, facing the wall, hair like silver ink spilling over the pillow. Her breath had finally evened out, but Dax knew she wasn't sleeping. He wasn't either. He stared at the ceiling beams, remembering missions where his gut had warned him a little too late. The Ember Key, the Vathari. Everything about this woman felt like a trap, and he was walking right into it anyway. "Cheyenne?" he said softly. She didn't move. Then, "I didn't mean to involve you," she whispered, voice brittle. "But it's too late now. They'll find me. They always do." The morning came quietly. No sun, just a gray light bleeding through the storm clouds. The temperature outside had dropped another 10 degrees. But inside, it was tolerable, until the ping, a high-frequency hum from one of Dax's forgotten perimeter nodes. He was up instantly, grabbing the old rifle from beneath his bench. "We've got movement out there." Cheyenne bolted upright, her skin already shifting in tone, a defense reflex, something biological. "Describe the energy signature." Could be a hover drone. Low altitude. One heat trace, humanoid-sized. But there's distortion, like cloaking tech. Her lips thinned. "They found me." The cabin had been built for survival, not war. But Dax knew how to improvise. In 10 minutes, they'd flipped the table, stacked crates for cover, and locked the doors. Cheyenne slipped into something resembling armor, woven silver fibers that shimmered as she moved. The crystal at her chest now glowed softly with a light like dying stars. "You ever used a plasma rifle?" Dax asked. She gave him a look that said, "Do I look like I've never killed anyone?" "Right," he said. "Stupid question." The first blast came through the roof, a sound like lightning and burning glass. The fire went out instantly. Dax shoved Cheyenne down as the roof cracked and rained frozen shards. A humanoid shape dropped through the ceiling, tall, plated in. Sleek obsidian armor with 4 glowing eyes and a weapon braced to its shoulder. "Intruder detected," it screeched in distorted common. Dax didn't hesitate. One shot. Center mass. The kinetic round smashed into the intruder's chest, staggering it. Cheyenne rolled up and launched a glowing dagger with a flick of her wrist. It buried into the armor's visor and exploded with a pulse of ultraviolet flame. The thing dropped, hissing, twitching, and didn't rise again. Dax exhaled hard. "One scout. There'll be more." "3 more, Cheyenne corrected grimly, already pulling another dagger from her wrist sheath. "They travel in a hunting quad." "How do you know that?" "Because I was one of them. Until I refused to use the Ember Key." She stood fully then, facing him not as a refugee, but as something colder, sharper, born to war. "I'm not your problem, Dax Mercer," she said, voice low. "But if you stay with me, you become theirs." Dax gave her A tired smile. Too late. You already used my bed. That makes us roommates. She blinked, then almost smiled. They didn't have to wait long. The second attacker came just before noon. This one phased into view from a shimmer in the trees. Dax spotted the tracks in the snow a second too late. Left flank. He spun. Shot. But the thing was fast. Too fast. It leapt, claws outstretched, and tackled him back through the shattered wall. They hit the snow hard. The cold was instant, paralyzing. The Vathari elite, black and red and monstrous, raised its arm blade. Then, Cheyenne was there. She didn't scream. She didn't yell. She simply moved. A single arc of her hand lit up the winter air with a flash of violet flame. Her palm connected with the enemy's core, and it burst into cinders. Dax coughed, sitting up in the snow, blood running down his jaw. Cheyenne dropped beside him, expression strained. "You're bleeding," I noticed. She pulled something from her sleeve, an organic bandage that shimmered like insect wings. She pressed it to his wound. "Don't talk," she murmured. "Just let it bond." He grimaced, then looked at her through a haze. "You could have run." "I didn't." "Why not?" Her hands trembled. "Because for the first time in a long while, someone didn't leave me to die." The third Vathari didn't attack directly. It waited. It broadcasted instead, projecting, a deep echoing voice into the air. "Princess Cheyenne of the Ninth Flame, return the Ember Key or Earth will burn." She froze. Dax stood beside her, one hand still pressing his bandaged side. "They're bluffing," he said. "They wouldn't glass an entire colony." "You don't know them," she replied, voice cracking. "They would. I've seen it." Then, she turned to him, eyes wide with pain. "You have to run. I'll draw them away." "Like hell you will. I'm not giving you a choice." She stepped away, but Dax grabbed her wrist. She stopped, and for a second, she didn't look like a warrior. She looked scared, vulnerable, real. His voice was quiet. "You reach for my hand when you're freezing. You stay to fight when you could have escaped. And now you want to throw it away again?" He held her gaze. "I don't leave people behind." "Shay," she whispered, "you're going to get yourself killed." He shrugged. "Better than going back to pretending I was already dead." Boom! The fourth enemy landed. The commander, twice as tall, shaped like a cathedral of knives, its head crowned in energy arcs. This one didn't screech. It spoke. "Deliver the Ember Key." "Cheyenne," it rumbled, "or this human dies in front of you." And this time, Cheyenne didn't reach for a weapon. She reached for Dax's hand, their fingers locked, and a pulse of ancient power surged from the crystal in her chest. The Atoi. Ember Key wasn't just a weapon, it was sentient, and it had just chosen its new wielder. Snow lifted in spirals around the cabin wreckage as if the storm itself had paused to witness the impossible. The Ember Key, long dormant, long hunted, was glowing in Dax's chest. Not embedded, not surgically attached. Integrated. His skin shimmered with faint glyphs, alien symbols shifting just beneath the surface like starlight beneath ice. Cheyenne's hand remained in his. Her breath caught. "That shouldn't be possible," she whispered, awe laced with dread. "No human has ever." The Vathari commander raised its plasma pike, roaring. "Heretic! The Ember Key accepts only royal blood." Dax blinked. "Hate. To break the universe, but it likes me." The commander struck first, faster than gravity, heavier than a tank. Its blade sliced toward Dax's ribs. He didn't dodge, he didn't have to. The Ember Key moved for him, a field of light burst from. His arm, hexagonal, reactive and indestructible. The impact echoed like a bell struck by a god. The commander reeled. Dax looked at his arm, stunned. "What the hell just happened?" Cheyenne's eyes gleamed. "You synchronized." "I didn't do anything. That's exactly why it worked." The Vathari recovered and screamed, plunging into a full charge. Cheyenne shouted, Don't think. Just feel. Let it guide you. Dax moved with the precision of a man who'd forgotten he was ever human. Every step, every motion wasn't his, but theirs. Him and the Ember Key intertwined. He ducked, dodged, twisted. The shield pulsed with heat as it intercepted strike after strike. And then he countered. One punch. Just one. The energy coalesced at his knuckles, and when he struck the Vathari commander in the gut, it sent a shockwave out in all directions, blasting snow, debris, and plasma into the forest. The alien fell, not dead, but wounded. For the first time it looked uncertain. Behind him, Cheyenne knelt, hand pressed to her ribs. Dax ran to her. "You're hit!" She waved him off. "Just cracked bone." My armor absorbed the rest. He helped her up. "Can't you heal that with the glowy space bandages?" "Not instantly. Not unless—" She trailed off, eyes flicking to the Ember Key now pulsing. At his chest. He followed her gaze. "What?" "It has more than combat functions. With a true bond, it can heal." He stared at it. "I don't know how to activate it." "You already did." She leaned forward, pressing her forehead gently to his. "Just let it feel what you feel." He did. The Ember Key responded, flaring gold-white between them. Cheyenne gasped as light flooded through her. Her cracked ribs shifted, repaired, and sealed. She gripped his shoulders, body shuddering. Not from pain, from the intensity of it, the connection. When it ended, she stumbled back, eyes wide. Her breath came fast. "Was?" "I know," he said quietly. A long silence stretched between them, and then her voice trembling. "You're not just compatible, Dax. You're bonded. To the key, to me." The moment shattered as the Vathari fleet descended. Black. Shapes blotted the sky, dozens of dropships forming a shadow ring around the mountain peak. Blue searchlights tore through the trees. Hundreds of red eyes blinked on. "We're out of time," Dax muttered. Cheyenne pulled a disc from her belt and tossed it. It floated mid-air, spinning. A holographic map of the sector projected above. There's an old relay site 2 kilometers west, decommissioned Earth tech. If we reach it, we can send a message beyond the blockade. Who do we call? Someone worse than the Vathari, she said grimly. My sister. They ran, snow up to their knees, ice clinging to their clothes. Behind them, the cabin exploded, scorched by orbital fire. No turning back now. Enemy scouts were everywhere. Dax spotted 2 in the trees, whispering in and out of camouflage. He raised a hand, and a ripple of energy flattened the pines, sending both flying. He stared at his hand. This is insane. You're adapting faster than any known species, Cheyenne said, panting. Even faster than royals. He glanced sideways. Are you impressed or terrified? Both. Then, more softly. But mostly proud. They made it to the relay, a rusted tower, half collapsed, with ice clogging the solar panels. But the core still hummed. Cheyenne slid a neural spike into the panel and winced. Encrypted. Terran military code. Try Mercer Echo 05. That was my unit's fallback protocol. She entered it. The relay blinked green. You really were military. Retired, he said. Mostly because of how often I punched my COs. The panel opened. A transmission field powered up. Now or never, she said. He looked at her. You sure about this? She reached for his hand again. We'll make it. Together. Her message was short. This is Cheyenne of the 9th Flame. I hold the Ember Key. I am bonded to a Terran. We request sanctuary and reinforcement. Enemies inbound. Coordinates attached. End transmission. She released the button and looked. Up at Dax. They'll either come for us or come to kill us. What's the difference? He said. We stand our ground either way. She moved closer. For a long moment, Neither said anything. Then softly, "My people. They'll call me a traitor. And you?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "I don't care what they call me. I call you mine." The sky opened with a scream. It wasn't fire or missiles this time. It was light. A lance of silver energy pierced the clouds, parting the blizzard like a curtain. And from that rift descended a ship unlike any Dax had ever seen. Graceful. Royal. Deadly, Cheyenne froze. Her breath caught. She came. The ship landed silently, its hull pulsing with ancestral glyphs. The sigil of the ninth flame burned bright on its prow. A single figure stepped onto the snow, a woman in armor that seemed woven from starlight itself. Tall, beautiful, terrifying. Cheyenne. The voice cut the wind. "You bonded with a human?" "Lureka," Cheyenne whispered. Dax raised an eyebrow. "That your sister?" Cheyenne didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the woman descending the ridge, flanked by a dozen elite guards. Their weapons were ceremonial. For now. "She's more than my sister," Cheyenne said. "She's the Ascendant Flame." Translation: she commands every loyal fleet in this system. "Cool," Dax muttered. "So we're definitely screwed." Lureka stepped closer, golden eyes burning with fury. "Do you know what you've done?" she hissed. "You awakened the Ember Key in an outsider, in a male, in a human. That's not bonding. It's pollution." Cheyenne stood tall. "I know exactly what I did." Lureka turned her gaze to Dax. "You. What's your name?" He crossed his arms. "Dax Riley, former mechanic, disgraced corporal, and current cosmic accident, apparently." "You think this is a joke?" she snapped. "No. I think I got dragged into a blood feud over a glowing rock, and now you're all mad it picked me instead of one of your space princesses." Silence. Then, Lureka struck. A single step, a flash of motion, and her blade was at Dax's throat. But she never finished the strike, because Cheyenne's blade met hers, inches away. The clang rang like a thunderclap. Lureka's eyes narrowed. "You'd draw steel against me? I'd draw steel against anyone who threatens him. Even if it means exile, war, death." "Yes," Cheyenne said, her voice calm, final. "Because I didn't bond with him by mistake. The Ember Key chose both of us. It woke up for him." She stepped in front of Dax. "I won't let you unmake that just to protect your pride." The wind howled through the trees. Lureka said nothing for a long time, and then, "Very well," she stepped back. "But if you're to break tradition, then let the stars judge you both." From her ship, Lureka summoned the tribunal beacon. Relic older than either of them, forged in the War of Nine Suns. It projected 3 ethereal flames into the sky, each a judge, each an echo of ancient memory. The flames rotated, shimmering between red, violet, and gold. "The Ember Key may only bond with one who chooses, and is chosen, without deception," Lureka said. The flames pulsed. "If the key rejects him now, it will kill him." Dax looked at Cheyenne. She nodded once. "You don't have to do this." He stepped forward anyway. "I already did." The flames ignited around him, burning cold, not hot, threading through his veins, his mind, his memory. They saw everything, his grief, his failures, his loneliness. They saw the soldier he used to be, the man he tried to forget. They saw Cheyenne, her laughter, her pain, her courage. They saw her holding his hand in the snow. Then, light erupted from his chest. The Ember Key didn't flare. It sang. All 3 tribunal flames turned blue, a sign not of royalty, but of union. Lureka gasped. "No." Cheyenne smiled. "Yes." The guards stepped back, lowering their weapons. The flame judges vanished into the sky. Lureka stared at Dax, her expression unreadable. Then she looked to her sister. voice soft. You risked everything. For him, Shayan nodded. I chose him. Lureka's lips curled just slightly. Then may the stars watch over your foolish hearts. She turned to leave. We'll withdraw the Vathari fleets. They were following our signal. Your position is no longer sanctioned. She paused at the ramp. One last thing. Cheyenne looked up. If he hurts you, Lureka said, smiling faintly, I'll turn Earth into a crater. Then she vanished into her ship. They were alone again. The sky cleared. Sunlight, golden and blinding, spilled through the clouds for the first time in days. Dax turned to Cheyenne. So, what now? She took his hand. Now we rebuild. Together? She leaned into him, forehead against his. Always. Epilogue. 6 months later, the relay tower had become a beacon for more than just signals. Refugees, outcasts, even former Vathari defectors had gathered around the ridge, drawn by stories of the human and the fireborn who broke the old code. Dax adjusted the power conduit, sparks flying. Careful, Cheyenne called from the platform. He smirked. Relax, I used to fix worse things than alien relics. She jumped down beside him, wrapping her arms around his waist. The new village is almost done. Your people, they're calling it New Emberfall. He nodded. Has a nice ring to it. She looked up at him. So does us. Final line. CTA. Love doesn't ask for permission from tradition, law, or stars. It just takes your hand and dares the universe to stop you.